We are going to be back in the book of 1 Kings. 1 Kings. I'm going to do a little bit of reading today, a little bit more than usual, because I want us to hear this story. Story of Elijah. Elijah is an interesting fellow, as we're going to see play out here today. Elijah, when we think of the great prophets, Elijah is right up on top. Elijah did some amazing things through the power of God in his life. And this is one of my favorite Elijah stories. And it's found in 1 Kings chapter 18. 1 Kings chapter 18. After many days, the word of the Lord came to Elijah in the third year, saying, "Go, show yourself to Ahab, and I will send rain upon the earth." So Elijah went to show himself to Ahab. Now the famine was severe in Samaria, and Ahab called Obadiah, who was over the household. Now Obadiah feared the Lord greatly, and when Jezebel cut off the prophets of the Lord, Obadiah took 100 prophets and hid them by 50s in a cave and fed them with bread and water. And Ahab said to Obadiah, "Go through the land to all the springs of water and to all the valleys. Perhaps we may find grass and save the horses and mules alive, and not lose some of the animals." So they divided the land between them to pass through it. Ahab went in one direction by himself, and Obadiah went in another direction by himself. And as Obadiah was on the way, behold, Elijah met him, and Obadiah recognized him and fell on his face and said, "Is it you, my lord Elijah?" And he answered him, "It is I. Go tell your lord, behold, Elijah is here." And he said, "How have I sinned that you would give your servant into the hand of Ahab to kill me? As the Lord your God lives, there is no nation or kingdom where my Lord has not sent to seek you." And when they would say, "He is not here," he would take his oath of the kingdom or nation, that they had not found you. And now you say, "Go tell your Lord, behold, Elijah is here." And as soon as I have gone from you, the Spirit of the Lord will carry you, I know not where. And so when I come and tell Ahab, and he cannot find you, he will kill me, although I, your servant, have feared the Lord from my youth. Has it not been told, my Lord, what I did when Jezebel killed the prophets of the Lord, how I had 100 men of the Lord's prophets by 50s in a cave and fed them with bread and water? And now you say, "Go tell your Lord, behold, Elijah is here, and he will kill me." And Elijah said, "As the Lord of hosts lives, before whom I stand, I will surely show myself to him today." So Obadiah went to meet Ahab and told him, and Ahab went to meet Elijah. When Ahab saw Elijah, Ahab said to him, "Is it you, you troubler of Israel?" And he answered, "I have not troubled Israel, but you have, and your father's house, because you have abandoned the commandments of the Lord and followed the Baals. Now therefore send and gather all Israel to me at Mount Carmel, and the 450 prophets of Baal, and the 400 prophets of Asherah, who eat at Jezebel's table." So Ahab sent to all the people of Israel and gathered the prophets together at Mount Carmel. And Elijah came near to all the people and said, "How long will you go limping between two different opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him, but if Baal, then follow him." And the people did not answer him a word. Then Elijah said to the people, "I, even I only, am left a prophet of the Lord, but Baal's prophets are 450 men. Let 2 bowls be given to us, and let them keep 1 bowl for themselves, and cut it into pieces, and lay it on the wood, but put no fire to it. And I will prepare the other bowl, and lay it on the wood, and put no fire to it. And you call upon the name of your God, and I will call upon the name of the Lord, and the God who answers by fire, he is God." And all the people answered, "It is well spoken." And Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, "Choose for yourself 1 bowl, and prepare it first, for you are many, and call upon the name of your God, but put no fire to it." And they took the bowl that was given them, and they prepared it, and called upon the name of Baal from morning until noon, saying, O Baal, answer us. But there was no voice, and no one answered, and they limped around the altar that they had made. And at noon Elijah mocked them, saying, Cry aloud, for he is a god. Either he is musing, or he is relieving himself, or he is on a journey, or perhaps he is asleep and must be awakened. And they cried aloud and cut themselves in their customs with swords and lances, and the blood gushed out upon them. And as midday passed, they raved on until the time of the offering of the oblation. But there was no voice, no one answered, no one paid attention. Then Elijah said to all the people, Come near to me. And all the people came near to him, and he repaired the altar of the Lord that had been thrown down. Elijah took 12 stones according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord came, saying, Israel shall be your name. And with the stones he built an altar in the name of the Lord. And he made a trench about the altar, as great as would contain 2 seahs of seed. And he put the wood in order, and cut the bowl in pieces, and laid it on the wood. And he said, Fill 4 jars with water, and pour it on the burnt offering, and on the wood. And he said, Do it a second time. And they did it a second time. And he said, Do it a third time. And they did it the third time. And the water ran around the altar, and filled the trench also with water. And at the time of the offering of the oblation, Elijah the prophet came near and said, O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known this day that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant, and that I have done all these things at your word. Answer me, O Lord, answer me, that this people may know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you have turned their hearts back. And the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt offering, and the wood, and the stones, and the dust, and licked up the water that was in the trench. And when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces and said, The Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God. And Elijah said to them, Seize the prophets of Baal, let not one of them escape. And they seized them, and Elijah brought them down to the brook Kishon and slaughtered them there. And Elijah said to Ahab, Go up, eat and drink, for there is a sound of the rushing of rain. So Ahab went up to eat and to drink. And Elijah went up to the top of Mount Carmel, and he bowed himself down on the earth, and put his face between his knees. And he said to his servant, Go up now, look toward the sea. And he went up and looked and said, There is nothing. And he said, Go again 7 times. And at the 7th time he said, Behold, a little cloud, like a man's hand, is rising from the sea. And he said, Go up, say to Ahab, Prepare your chariot and go down, lest the rain stop you. And in a little while the heavens grew black with clouds and wind, and there was a great rain. And Ahab rose and went to Jezreel. And the hand of the Lord was on Elijah, and he gathered up his garment and ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah, saying, So may the gods do to me, and more also, if I do not make your life as the life of one of them by this time tomorrow. Then he was afraid, and he arose and ran for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a broom tree. And he asked that he might die, saying, It is enough now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am no better than my fathers. And he lay down and slept under a broom tree, and behold, an angel touched him, and said to him, Arise and eat. And he looked, and behold, there was at his head a cake baked on hot stones and a jar of water. And he ate and drank and lay down again. And the angel of the Lord came again a second time and touched him and said, Arise and eat, for the journey is too great for you. And he arose and ate and drank and went in the strength of the food 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mount of God. There he came to a cave and lodged in it. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him. And he said to him, What are you doing here, Elijah? And that's where I want to stop. Interesting story. Interesting story. In the Old Testament, as we read through, and we see many times the hand of God moving. We just got done going through the book of Jonah. We just talked about Jonah and how God had moved in Nineveh, and yet his prophet Jonah, after seeing a great move of God and on a whole community, and this whole nation, basically this whole city, the capital of Assyria, the capital city, everybody finds Christ, or finds God, comes to faith in God. And Jonah is so let down by it, he's so depressed by it, he wants to die. He just cries out to God, just take my life. Here again, and I haven't quite wrapped my head around the Jonah story. And here again, I see a great move of God through the prophet Elijah. I mean, let's face it here. God comes upon Elijah and says, Elijah, I want you to go see Ahab. And Elijah has every reason to not go see Ahab, because Ahab is looking for Elijah to kill him. He's not a popular guy in Israel at this time because Ahab is not a godly king. He's married to Jezebel, which to this day is synonymous, the name is synonymous with sin and evil and wickedness. And they want him dead. And yet Elijah, God tells him to go. So Elijah goes, he stands before Ahab, he says, Ahab even calls Elijah the troubler of Israel, and Elijah has the courage to look at Ahab in the eye and say, no, not me, you. You're troubling Israel. And here's the deal. You're two-faced. You're double-minded. You're trying to live in this world, and you're trying to live in this world. You're trying to combine the gods with our God. And this is today is the day. We're drawing a line in the sand, and we're going to prove who is God in Israel. And so, as we read in the story, they go up, and Elijah says, here's the deal. You got 450 prophets to meet. You got 450 people to go to prayer for you against me. So we're going to set up your altar any way you want. Here's the deal. We're going to see which God can consume the sacrifice. Which God has the power, or maybe even cares. You go first. And he gave them hours. 6, 7, 8 hours. They prayed and cried out and screamed out and cut themselves, and all this carrying on for nothing. We knew that. It's not a big conclusion for us, a great epiphany for us that the Baals didn't answer. Because there is only one God. There's not, and this is an important thing for us to remember. It's not that we have the most powerful God. It's that we have the only God. It's not that, you understand, Baals don't exist. Man created the Baals. Man creates other gods. When we get into Exodus 20 and God's handing down the law, and he starts out with, thou shalt have no other gods before me, it really means I'm the only one. There are no other gods. You shall have no other gods before me, besides me, other than me. The literal translation gives the idea that, listen, there are no other gods. Anything that you hold up as equal with me or above me is something that you're placing there. There are no other gods. It's not like there's any other gods out there, and I'm just the most powerful one. There just are no other gods. I am the only one. That's huge for us. Because we live in a culture today where we are constantly asked, I've been asked a lot, why the Christian God? Why Christianity? What makes you think you guys are so exclusive in the God thing? What makes you think that it's your God that should be the end-all say-all? And the answer is simple, because our God is the only God. There are no other gods. And so that's the first thing. And Elijah's making a case for that. Because he's like, it would have been different had somehow the Baals managed to burn up the altar. Well, then what? So Elijah was laying a lot of risk here because he knew the truth. So I guess he really wasn't risking because he knew the truth. He knew that the Baals were not going to be able to consume the sacrifice. And so they get done doing their thing. They're exhausted. They're tired. Probably walking away with their heads down. And then Elijah prepares his altar. The altar that had been torn down. It was the Lord's altar. He was rebuilding the Lord's altar, which had been torn down, and it hadn't been being used. So he rebuilds it with 12 stones from the 12 tribes, and he lays the wood on there just so, and then he gets the sacrifice put on there. And then he's like, here's what I want everybody to know, that this isn't by accident. So he soaks it down. Everything gets soaked down with water, tons of water, just fills up this trench, and then he prays. There's no mad carrying on. There's no cutting. This is our God. This is He who loves us. This is He whose name is glorified in the world. We sing to God be the glory today. Great things He has done. This is one of those great things. The beauty of it is I think this is how God wants to be in our lives. This isn't just some story in the Old Testament where God was trying to do something out of the ordinary that he never does. Elijah put himself out in a position that was going to cost him everything. You understand, if God doesn't show up here, Elijah's toast. Elijah's toast. He's done. He's going to die if God doesn't show up. And I think God likes it when we do that kind of stuff. I think God likes it when we put our necks out on His behalf and claim on His promises and count on Him to show up. Lord, if you don't show up, I'm going to look like a fool. I think God loves it when we do that kind of stuff. And God shows up, fire. Everything's burned up, torched up, the water's gone, everything's gone. Water was a commodity in this story too. They were in the middle of a drought, it hadn't rained. Elijah was literally taking water, precious, precious water. I could see Ahab out there going, what's he doing? We're almost out of water. God shows up. And all the people are just around there. God is the God. God is God. God is the Lord. He's our Lord. He is our God. Huge thing, man. Elijah must have been standing there, his chest pumped out about like that. He's just adrenaline pumping through. Can you imagine? God showed up. I mean, can you imagine God showed up in His power and in His might? God showed up. I mean, I just think of it today. We have an altar standing here. What if God showed up? I mean, boom! God showed up. And we would just be like pumped. First of all, we'd probably be on our hands and knees, our faces. But just be, wow, God showed up this morning. We'd walk out of here, we'd be telling everybody, you know what happened in church this morning? God showed up. And then Elijah hears the words that Jezebel wants him to die. It's another one of those stories I just struggle with. I struggle with it. God showed up. Elijah prayed, God showed up, and then Elijah prayed again. And this drought that had been going on for, I apologize, I'm not 100% sure how long. It had been quite a while. Years, this drought. So Elijah prays, and it starts to rain. The rain comes. I mean, this is like, in ministry, this is like the pinnacle day. This is the day that puts you on the map. This is the day that gets you the book contract and the video series contract and the Bible study contract. This is that day in ministry that's just like, wow, this was my day. Everything came together. God showed up. And then there's Jezebel. 450 prophets of Baal. He looks the king right in the eyes and says, you're screwing up Israel, not me. You're the one troubling. Let's do a test. Let's find out who's God. And God shows up, and the next thing we know, Elijah is running for his life and hiding in a cave, and God's saying, what are you doing here, Elijah? What are you doing? Have you been paying attention at all, Elijah? Have you seen anything that's just happened? I have such a hard time wrapping my head around this. But because a woman, and she wasn't a good woman to want to have you dead. I mean, let's put this into perspective. In the Urban Dictionary, we would say that Jezebel wore the pants in that relationship. Jezebel, Ahab was king, Jezebel was boss. We'll just put it that way. So Jezebel was not a nice lady. Everybody feared Jezebel, with good reason, because if Jezebel didn't like him, you woke up dead. That's just the way it worked. And this was probably, so Elijah's just like, he's going on, and all of a sudden, oh, Jezebel wants me dead. And he's just this panic. Even though God had just showed up, Jezebel was the match. He didn't have any problem challenging the Baals. He didn't have any problem challenging Ahab. Jezebel. It was like just Samson's hair. It was just like, you just withered up into this little fetal position, and he's just like afraid to function, and he runs. Then he was afraid, it says, and he arose and ran for his life. And then God shows up again. So he runs, and he finds himself in Beersheba, sitting under a broom tree, just saying, Lord, okay, just kill me. Just kill me. You don't know, you don't understand my problems, Lord. You don't get it. You may be God of Israel. You just proved that. But Jezebel, she wants me dead. You might as well just take me now. Because she wants me dead, I'm going to die. You just proved you're God in Israel, but you ain't big enough for Jezebel. Nobody's big enough for Jezebel. And so, Lord, God sends an angel. He goes to sleep under the tree, feeling sorry for himself. And God sends the angel with dinner cooked. I mean, he wakes up to dinner cooked. He's in the middle of nowhere. Dinner's cooked. And he gets up and he eats. And he has something to drink, and he lays back down and goes to sleep. He wakes up again to dinner cooked. God says, listen, you're going to be on a long journey. You need food and water. And so he takes off for 40 days. And 40 nights. And he wakes up in Horeb, finds himself in Horeb, hiding in a cave where God finds him. Elijah, what are you doing? What are you doing here? You know, this is a great little story. I think it's an incredibly relevant story. For the church today, we're at a crossroads. We are at a crossroads in the church in America today. The church in the rest of the world is really already knows what we're going to find out. God has done some pretty amazing things in the church, in the Western church. He's still doing pretty amazing things. good friend of mine, most of you probably read the front page of the paper the last couple of days. Oak Street Chapel. Good friend of mine, Pastor Todd, who lived over there, probably brought in an ill-advised speaker to his church. And that's the danger in having people come in and talk. The subject matter was Islam in our world, and I think probably a lot of what the guy, I haven't had a chance to talk to Todd, so to find out exactly his side of what's gone on here, but it's one of those situations where I'm like, I leave town for a week, and I just can't leave town. Things start falling apart. That's a joke, you can laugh. But evidently, this guy came off a little bit brash and unloving, and but it's opened up a narrative now in town. It's opened up a narrative probably in a negative way. It's already cast the church in a negative light because of some of the things that this gentleman had to say. And it's important, I think, probably we're going to address it here in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be talking about love, I think. And it's easy to get spiteful and hateful over people that think differently than we do. But I say that because it's opened up a narrative in the church by which I believe the church is going to lose the narrative in the Western church. We are going to lose the narrative on being exclusive versus inclusive. This idea of, well, what makes your God, like I said earlier, what makes your God right? I mean, why should you be right? Why should Christianity be the religion of America and not Islam? Or why should we not allow this into the public square and give it a voice? The church is going to lose that argument, I believe, based solely on what I believe about the church and what God needs to do in the church. Listen, the church, we right now, for the most part, if I were going to pick a time in Elijah's life that represented the church, it would be in the cave in Horeb. Today's church, in the life of, making that comparison to the life of Elijah. We really are running scared, for the most part. I mean, people in the church, I talk to them all the time, are scared because of the direction of our country, the direction of our culture. People say, well, what if we lose our 501c3? And I'm like, see ya! Who cares? Well, what if they come tomorrow and they tell us, well, you have to sanction homosexual marriages in your church or your preacher's going to jail. Your church board's going to go to jail. Me? I don't care. Come see me. You see, the church, and this is why I'm not getting all excited about the election this year. I mean, I'm still making a few conversations. I'm having some conversation with people on Facebook. I'm not going to argue with anybody here. Whoever you're voting for, you're voting for. I've just come to the conclusion we are in trouble in this country. And it don't matter which person you send to the White House, we're in trouble in this country. Why? Because God is not God in our country. And for me, it's time, guys, for the church to stand up and say, no, we're not serving two sides. It's not about trying to mix politics and religion anymore. And it hasn't worked. We've been trying to do that for as long as I've been a part of the political process. As far back as I can remember, we're trying to mix. And we'll say as Christians, well, we talk a lot about the lesser of two evils. We talk about the lesser of two evils. And this is my personal, God's giving me some grace to give you my personal opinion. This isn't biblical. It's my personal opinion. My personal opinion is this. It's time to stop playing politics. I'm not playing anymore. If we are constantly going to be getting the lesser of two evils, we are constantly going to be getting a degree of evil. And I understand there's never going to be Jesus Christ running for president, okay? I get it. We're never going to have a perfect man or a perfect woman descend to the White House. We're not. But the direction of our country is so troubling and disturbed right now. I've just come to the conclusion, I'm drawing a line in the sand. I've been fasting and praying on Tuesdays for my country, largely. I don't know what the answer is. I'm still praying that God shows up. This is 2nd of October. The election is 5 weeks away. 5 weeks. I'm still praying that God shows up. Because I want God to show up. Because Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump aren't saving our country. I mean, can we agree on that? They're not saving our country. They won't. We could elect Jesus Christ himself and send him to the White House this time. He can't save the country. Why? Because the hearts of the country aren't for God anymore. We're mixed. We're mixed. We're trying so hard to serve the world and be part of the world, and yet we don't want to give up on God. We don't want to, there's too much at risk to just kind of push him out. But we've been living this, and it don't work. It doesn't work. And it's time, I believe, for the church to stand up and say no. At least it's what for myself. It's no more. I'm not playing the game anymore. I'm so sick and tired of playing politics. I love to debate politics. I love to argue politics. But when it comes down to where the rubber meets the road, our country is on a trajectory that is not good. And it's not because there's a lot of evil people in our country. It's not because there's bad people in our country. It's not because, we just haven't had the right leadership. No. God ordains leadership, my friends. That's God ordained. That's what it is. That's God ordained. God gives us what we deserve. You look back into the 1 Samuel and you start talking about the Israelites just screaming, oh, give us a king, give us a king. Because, all right, I'll give you a king. And he gave them Saul. Why did he give them Saul? Because they needed Saul. When Saul didn't work out so well, then he gave them David. And even David had scratchy patches. But first he gave them Saul, because Saul is who they wanted. Head and shoulders above everybody else. Big, burly, good-looking guy. Someone that they could see and they could follow and they could rally around behind. That was Saul. And everybody loved Saul because he was big. But what happened when the big problem came to town? What happened when Goliath came to town? The big burly guy wasn't the biggest guy in the block anymore, and he was cowering in his tent with everybody else. Who went out and faced the giant? It was God's choice. It was David. Nobody would have ever picked David. I mean, if you would have put David in the lineup of about 10,000 people to be king in Israel, nobody would have chosen David because he was 13 years old to start with. But God said, no, I'm using David. David, go take care of the problem. I think the church today, this is another great analogy. The church today needs to be David. I mean the church, not everybody who attends church. The church. Those who have no pretense about who they're serving. There's no confusion over who is God. There's no confusion over where my allegiance lies and where my faith lies and where my energy goes. That church, which is, my friends, a fraction of the church at large. It's a fraction. Those are David. It's those of us who need to stand up and draw a line in the sand and let's say, okay, let's see who God is. Let's do a test. I don't even know for sure exactly what that test looks like in this economy, in this day and age. But I think it largely has, how are we going to live? How are we going to live? We've been talking, we're going to have Bible study tonight. 6 o'clock. Going through the book, Clash of Kingdoms. If you're struggling with this, come on down and struggle with us. Because it's real. I mean, this is a real thing. What this looks like for the church today. And I get it, man. People are struggling. What do? The struggle is real. And you've got, with regards to the election, you have very, very guys that I greatly respect. Saying, you got to do this. You got to vote for this one. You got to vote for that one. You got to do this. You got to do that. And it's, don't do anything without getting on your hands and knees and crying out to God, what do you want me to do? I'm not going to tell you. I will tell you, for me, I ain't voting for either of them. I'm waiting for God to show up. I want a move of God. I want God to show up. I mean, I would have God show up on election day. Just miraculous, huge. Here I am, I'm God. Take me or leave me. That kind of a choice. That's what I want. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm praying for. I don't even know what that looks like. But I know it doesn't look like the options that I see. And I'm not telling you that that's me. That's me. I just want, as I look at this whole thing, I see this story. I'm not hiding in the cave. My word, if Hillary Clinton is president for the next 4 years or 8 years, Jesus is still on the throne. Amen. God's still on the throne. If Donald Trump is president for 4 or 8 years, God's still on the throne. If somebody else, God's still on the throne. But I can tell you this, the trajectory of our country right now, the church needs to stand up. Church needs to stand up and say, no. If we believe it, I believe, I wouldn't call us a Christian nation, but we were a nation created on the truth and the foundation. This is the cornerstone of our Constitution. I believe that God is the God of America. And I do. I believe that God ordained the United States of America for a purpose in this world. To be a beacon of hope, a beacon of freedom. I believe it was God-breathed, God-ordained, but it's going away. And I don't believe that any man or any woman is the answer. I believe God is the answer. And it starts with the church. We've got to get serious about not serving the Baals in our life. Well, we don't serve Baal, Richard. Thou shalt have no other gods. Doesn't matter what you call them. Doesn't matter what you call the gods. It can be the Baals. It can be the dollars. It can be the stuffs. We're at a crossroads. God's not going to give up on his church. You know that. God's not going to give up on his church. I believe the Western church, the American church, is part of the greater church. We are part of it. God's not going to give up on us. But my question is how deep into correction do we need to get? What are we going to force God's hand to do and to wake us up before we engage the culture again? before we stand up for absolute truth, before